All right. Well, I would like to welcome everybody to LPC's Coffee and Collaboration this morning. We're really excited to have three industry experts with us today to talk to us about the process of making the sale and getting that information in for your magazines and publications. And so I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves as they get into the presentation, but today we have with us Wes Tiemann, Stephen Russell, and Molly Schoen to talk about some sale closing best practices and what producers are really looking for before, during, and after the sale. And so they've got years of experience, lots of great stories to share with us today. And with that, I'm going to remind you guys of just a couple quick things. Over in the far left-hand corner is a little chat bubble, so if you've never been on one of our chats before, you can just click on that bubble to pop up the chat screen. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the chat, and we'll ask those, go ahead and post them throughout, and then we'll ask those at the end after they finish their presentations. You can also change your view across the very top. On the top blue bar, you'll notice a little person with an arrow, and so you're welcome to kind of pick a different layout if it makes it easier for you to view the chat. Otherwise, we'll have the PowerPoint presentation running, and you'll get to hear from our experts. And then at the end, this will be available as a YouTube video as well, so you can share that with any of your staff members who are unable to attend. But with that, I'll turn it over to Wes. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you very much. My name is Wes Tiemann. I'm with the Missouri Beef Cattleman publication here in Missouri. I'm the general manager of that publication and as well provide the ring service and field service for our magazine. Missouri Beef Cattleman is the official publication of the Missouri Cattlemen's Association. And alongside with that, some other activities that I'm involved with is Angus Consulting, Sale Management, and Auctioneering with a couple entities, one kind of on my own and with a joint venture with a partner I have, CK6 Consulting out of Maxwell, New Mexico. So the reason I bring that up is I'm going to kind of attack my presentation two-sided today, both as the advertiser, being in a sale management and placing advertising with other publications, and also as the fieldman or the person out there trying to make the sale and also doing the service for that sale. Next slide, please, Jennifer. As you can see, if I put all the logos that I'm involved with on the car, it looked like I'd be running in the Daytona 500. Stephen probably does know that the car already is logoed up pretty well with Missouri Cattleman stuff, so I can't really put any more on it. But anyways, with the sale management things that we do, I'll do roughly 30 sales a year across the country on the sale management and auctioneering side, and probably another 30 sales a year on the Missouri Beef Cattleman side, working the ring and providing field services for our publication, as well as we also supply probably another 15 to 20 sales a year with hired ring service that we provide for those sales that I couldn't attend myself. Next slide, if you would, please, Jennifer. Okay, so don't try to read into this schematic. This is just showing all the complexities that go into to making a sale. And the sales that I'm talking about today are primarily going to be production sales, livestock production sales. That's the three of us on this conference call here today are mainly dealing with advertising of a purebred production sale. So from the time the owner says, I want to have a sale to sale day, there's a million things that take place. And there's a lot of places that can get kind of hairy and cumbersome, and so a fieldman or an advertiser has to know how to stay out of the weeds and go directly to the source to get our advertising done. As you'll see on the next slide, as I present this from a salesman side, the first thing that I do is I find the top of the chain. I find the chain of command, who's making the decisions, and who do I go to get this advertising placed. So for the most part, a lot of the sales that we get advertising from, there will be a sale manager involved, and if a sale management team is involved, most of the time they are doing the advertising for that outfit. If it's not the sale manager, a lot of times we'll deal with an ad agency or an ad designer. I'd say probably 10 to 15% of the time. The other majority of the time, we'll be dealing directly with the owner of the operation. And that's where we run into trouble, is finding that chain of command. A lot of people just want to go directly to the top. They say, we want to go to the owner. We'll get the ad from him. But if he's hired an agency or a sale manager, he'll say, sure, I'll do an ad with you. Just get with my manager or agency. They'll get you the ad. We call them up. They say, we don't have you in the ad budget. So just make sure you know who's actually placing those ads, and just go straight there. It's good, of course, to have good working relationship with all the people in that chain of command, but just go directly to the source. You might find out that it's somebody other than those three. It could be the daughter-in-law. It could be the local editor of their local newspaper that's helping them with advertising. Just find the person that makes the calls. A lot of times we find out that nobody is making any judgment calls, or nobody is placing advertising, and that's kind of a double-edged sword. If you're the right person that gets in there at the right time, you could get way more advertising than you deserve. But for the most part, if nobody's calling the shots, you're very likely to get zero advertising. What I want to do at the end of that is get clear confirmation of what it is that we are or that we are not going to be doing for that client, whether that's providing ring service, the size of the ad, the placement, where the ad's going to go, what month, where we're getting it, if we're designing the ad, or if it's coming print ready. Of course, a lot of people use insertion orders or POs. Me personally, dealing with the people that I deal with, I do not use any of those things, just to make things simpler. The sale managers are in a car 90% of the time. They don't have a lot of capabilities to be signing off on things and getting them back to you, so it's a lot of word of mouth that I do with all of my clients and customers. And a lot of times owners might just see that as red tape, so I try to steer clear of any insertion orders when I'm dealing directly with an owner, and just make sure we know what it is we are doing for those people. So as a fieldman is concerned, it's our ability to be out in the field and make one-on-one sales calls with people. So I feel that we can make those sales count a lot easier when we can see them in person. I can get more advertising from somebody that I know instead of picking up a phone and cold calling. But with that, you are also exposed. When you go to 60 to 80 sales a year, there's plenty of opportunity for you to say the right thing, and there's plenty of opportunity for you to say the wrong thing. So sales etiquette is very important where you're in the field. You have to realize that the sale date for that individual is the most important day of the year. It's more important than Christmas and more important than their kid's birthday. That is their one payday, and you have to be cognizant of that. There was an auctioneer, Stanley Stout, that his tagline was, your sale's the only one that matters. And that's very true. He certainly understood that. So when you're going to see somebody, or you're going to be approaching somebody about a sale, have your homework done. Know their sale date, know the day of the week, know the people that's going to be there. Know their neighbors, know the people that they work well with or don't work well with. And just stick to the basics. Just talk about them and their sale. Don't want to be talking about a lot of other matters and muddy up any of the water. Consistency is key and a goal for me. If I can get an advertiser to the budget that I want them to be at or need them to be at, the easiest sale I have is to call somebody up and say, hey, can we do the same thing that we did last year? Now, I know a lot of people will probably say you always try to up your budget. To me, if I'm at a point that I'm comfortable with and they're comfortable with, it's the easiest sale, because if they've done it once, they'll probably do it again. So I do most of my sales calls now at this point in my career is, let's just do the same thing we did last year. And most generally, they always agree. We like to send a familiar face to the sale, people that they're comfortable with, people that they see around at other sales. And that's why we like the field staff portion of the sales part, is having that familiar face in the field. And probably the most important bullet point on here, as I hinted on at the last bullet point in the chain of command, is the simplicity of things. I want them to have two voices involved with this sales pitch. I want them to hear my voice, and then I want them to see an invoice. I don't want to have a lot of things in between, because the more people I put in between myself and an invoice, the more chances of muddying up those waters. So if I've got to have an ad design, I'm not going to put them together with the designer. I'm going to do that so there's only one person involved. If you would, next slide, please. So now I'm going to change gears and change my hats and talk to you about this from the advertiser side. You know, just like real estate folks, you know, for advertisers, it's all about the budget. Instead of location, 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 we deal with budgets, budgets, and budgets. So my budget starts with the advertising that will bring me the field staff or the ring service to the sale that I want and that I need. We generally need 3 ringmen at each sale that we do, so I start my budget with the 3 best publications that have the 3 best ring staff that will fit our needs for that particular sale. And that's where I'll spend most of our resources, and advertising dollars are probably with those 2, 3, or 4 publications. And we'll, of course, fill in our advertising needs around that, whether that's electronic advertising, any other sort of supplemental advertising that we do. So, you know, I've heard people say, well, why do you put so much emphasis on putting those extra dollar amounts just towards field service? Because I think it's much more than just field service. I think it's much more than ring service. When I pay a publication to send somebody to my sale, I'm not just getting him for that day. And that's a typo there and you can see that it says out team. That should say our team. They're bringing a person that is on our team that travels the country day in and day out. They talk to hundreds of producers each week at all these production sales. And for the most part, if they're coming to your sale the next week, they're going to have something good to say about your sale. We find out otherwise, they probably don't come back to the sale. So these fieldmen are essentially personal publicity for our sale that we're working with. And the reason that you can tell that, if you ever call a fieldman after a sale and you ask him, said, Steve-O, how was the sale today? I can tell you exactly what Steven's going to tell him. He's going to say, oh, it was good. It was really good. No matter if it was the worst sale he's ever been to in his life, or if they know sold half of the bulls, that person who was paid to be there that day and be on that team are going to have good things to say about those people. Now, we can cut through the BS, and I'll find out really afterwards how the sale really was. But those fieldmen that we have going to the sales are going to be a good asset to us, whether the sale is good, bad, or indifferent. So we see them as a valuable piece for us as well. If you would, hit the next button, please. So this last slide is just kind of a summation of how important that I see from an advertiser standpoint that having good field service and field crew can be. And I think the potential for publications to utilize this more so than probably what we do today. Now, don't take me wrong, if there's anybody working for publications on here that have cut their field services portion, I understand those things. But from our end, we see a tremendous asset in those things, and we see a huge need for it. So if you just take a look at the Angus calendar alone, the Angus Almanac from January 1 to June 1 of 2017, there's almost 500 sales just on the Angus side alone. Okay, if each of those sales, now I know a few of those are online and don't have full auction crews, but if each sale has 3 field staff there, that's 1,500 spots that a publication could have serviced or sold an ad to get a field crew member there, just on Angus alone. My gosh, this is just a rough guess, but if you count up all the other breeds combined, there'd be well over 5,000 spots needed from January 1 to June 1 for field service and to sell advertising and execute ring service just in the spring alone. So we think that there's a huge need for this. It's got to be the right people, and it's got to be people who can sell the advertising and get it back in a timely fashion. With that, that's going to wrap up my portion, and I'd be glad to kick it over or defer back to Jennifer and see how to proceed.
Great, thank you. We'll turn it over now to Stephen.
Good morning. How's my sound?
Good.
Okay. Well, appreciate the opportunity to be on, and thanks for everyone for joining today. Just a little history there about myself that you can see on your screen. I work here at the Kansas Livestock Association, called the Director of Advertising and Promotions. The Kansas Stockman is our magazine. I started here in 1998, worked here until 2003, and then I went out to the allied industry, worked 7 years, animal health business, came back to the organization in 2010, and back in the original role here starting in 2015. So that's just a little brief history of of me. It seems like as time marches on, and you'll see here in a second, or probably do already, that my hair is falling out, and the years are starting to add up. So I guess that may be I'm approaching an experienced one. But that's a little summary of my work history. Jennifer, if you want to go to the next slide. You'll see this "How do I sell this thing" title on many of these slides today, and let me preface it with I have a kindergartner, and we hear the word "thing" a lot, or "thingy," as she is learning new words and can't always come up with them. But I thought it was a word that really fit quite well here with our topic today, as we have this item here, and we've got to figure out how to sell it. In the KLA family of products, our flagship is the Kansas Stockman magazine. We publish 10 times a year, have that monthly with the exception of 2 months that are combined. We also have an almost daily email newsletter called KLA Today. And when I say almost daily, it's out anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. Our website is updated on a daily basis, and those all offer advertising. We also have KLA News and Market Report, which is our weekly newsletter, which is a non-advertising, just a membership services device for our members. And then I also am involved with the annual convention and trade show, and we get around 100 exhibitors in our trade show annually, and then also coordinate some of the sponsorships throughout the year here with the association. Go ahead to the next, Jennifer. I would divide our business up here in basically 2 categories of advertisers. We have our commercial advertisers, which is largely the allied industry, the animal health, animal nutrition, farm and ranch equipment, livestock equipment. And then we have several that would fall into the financial services category, or at least what I define as financial services, and that would be your insurance companies and your banks, those types of entities. And then the second category is our livestock, and a large percentage of our business here is in our livestock category, and most of that comes from ranchers who are hosting a production sale. And Wes just talked a lot about that aspect, but that is really our gravy, if you will, of our business here, is selling to those farms and ranches that are hosting an annual production sale or multiple sales a year. We also have a nice customer base of those that offer private treaty, and then we also have a nice customer base of auction markets. If you look at the 2 different categories in commercial and livestock, it's really quite different in how you sell those. And I don't know that we'll get real detailed into tackling that aspect just from the amount of time we have today. But really, you're dealing with 2 different animals, if you will. Most of that commercial business will come through agencies, and a high percentage of the livestock business, as Wes spoke on just a little bit ago, will come directly from those folks. So I'm going to make some general comments in the slides to come, but I think you need to keep that in the back of your mind, is that commercial and livestock can be 2 different tasks, 2 different sets of problems, 2 different sets of skills that are needed in order to handle getting the sale. Next slide, if you would, please. Am I still connected?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had a little glitch here on my end, it looked like. But so how do I sell this thing? Well, really, I think it boils down to 3 main topics there, three main attributes. That's service, that's relationships, and that's communication. And Wes did a nice job of speaking on service. He also spoke on relationships and communication. But really, I think those three are key to getting done what we need to do to get ads in a publication. Next slide. Service. Ring service sells. And I will attend ring service at about 80 sales a year. We will also hire ring service for about another 20 sales where I am unavailable, usually because it's a duplicate sale day. So really that is a driver of our business here. But then coupled with that, sometimes you have to provide more than just ring service to sell an ad to a rancher who's hosting a production sale. And you might have to get your camera out and provide some photography service. Now, I by no means claim to be a photography expert, but with the advancement in the equipment that is available on today's market, can make just a mediocre to average photographer such as myself produce something that is very usable and is very much needed. So I do find myself providing photography service, and again, that does lead to sales of ads for your publication. And then also designing that ad can sell it. And we're very fortunate that we have a longtime staff member here that does our ad design and layout, and again does a great job, and it's really a mainstay here within our organization, and actually she will get some calls directly to her because she has been here and has done that for these folks for so many years, and that stability is really a plus here in our shop. But again, sometimes we have to have that. You have to offer that service in order to get the sale done. And I think right along with that, in that service category, is you also, as a employee, as a person selling these ads, have to be able and available to create ad copy if needed. You know, a lot of these folks that are advertising there in our livestock sector that are hosting a sale, they've got about 10,000 things to get done that day, and probably only time to get 1,000 of them done. And writing ad copy, putting ads together is fairly low on their priority list. And I know Molly's going to address some of this in her slides coming up, but you have to be a little bit creative, and you have to be able to help get that copy in motion in order to sell these ads sometimes. Moving down the slide there, relationships. I mean, relationships sell, and you have to know the person, you have to know their program, and you have to know what they're selling. And there are many of our customers that are repeat customers, you know, that are 20, 30 years as advertisers in our publication, and you have to know that, you know, whether you're a new employee, a new person starting in that role, or if you've been there for a number of years, you have to know about these people. You have to develop a relationship with them, and really that I think is key to getting the sale completed. Coupled right along with that is communication. I mean, communicating with these people really gets it sold, and you yourself have to be easy to contact. You know, you can't be an 8 to 5 office hours type schedule. You really have to be easier to get a hold of than that. And most of now, luckily, with technology, and when I say now, if you compare back to 1998, it's much different than it was then when I first started. But this little rectangular device that I'm holding in my hand is where 99 point some % of the business calls come, And a lot of those come after hours beyond that 8 to 5. So being able to communicate with these customers is key, especially in the livestock. You've got to be easy to reach. And over time, it's evolved. You know, it used to be phone calls and faxes. And then we put email into the equation. And now there is a almost surprising number of advertisers that only want to communicate by text message. And I think that's fine, but you also have to have that relationship in order to do that. And you know, text messaging can also lead to some confusion, you know, with using acronyms and shortened words and such. So I think it's very key that if that is the way you communicate in text message and also in email, that you have to still use proper grammar, still use proper verbiage, still have that high level of professionalism, just to make sure that there aren't mistakes and make sure the communication is clear between the customer. Some of, you know, a lot of the folks that we work with are very active on social media, and some like to communicate that way through Facebook Messenger, for example. I caution that. You know, I'm not comfortable doing that kind of contact with a person. I think there's just too many variables that can be out of your control, too hard to manage. So I don't use the social media, the Snapchat and Facebook Messenger and on down the list, some that I probably don't even know how to use or are even aware of. But I do stay away from that in my communication efforts to our customers. Now, set that aside. That was primarily livestock, dealing with our livestock customers. On the commercial customers, it is going to be more 8 to 5 because they likely have office hours. And if you're dealing with an agency, they do have office hours that, you know, a lot of them, if they're in a large agency, you have to have a direct extension to reach them after hours because of centralized phone systems and such. So that is more strict on your hours, but an awful lot of that communication, it seems to me, or my experience has been, comes through email, and it gets more difficult to reach by phone those folks there in agencies for the commercial business. So email is very important for that. And I think the other variable here with commercial business and dealing specifically with agencies is you need to know the players all involved on a specific customer or specific account. It seems that there's some turnover in many of those positions. You know, if this week it was media buyer Susie, for example, just to use that name, you know, she may get an offer from another company, and 3 weeks from now she may not be here. So it goes back to her former supervisor, Annie, handling that account. So I think it's important that you know those all involved, all the people that work with that specific customer at an agency, because of some of the experiences I've had working with them, and you know, your contact person is gone now, and so you need to be able to reach the next one. Next slide, Jennifer. So I think in general, I've found, and really I hope it's my personality, that really you have to be genuine with your folks, remain humble, and always appreciate the business. You know, if you look at a business, advertising is very important, but it's also a pretty easy expense to cut when things get tight and things get a little tougher to earn a dollar. And I do appreciate all of the support we've had from our customers, and I think that's really important, that they are aware that you appreciate it, and they are aware that you have this working relationship where you're not just selling them an ad, but you're working with them throughout the entire year. And those are some maybe more some personal principles that I try to withhold and live up to. Is I've found those to be very important through the years. But I also think that it's important that if you're just getting started in selling, doesn't matter what widget it is, or even if you're a long-time salesman, it's always important to be learning and refining your salesmanship skills. And I've attended seminars over the years and actually still carry some of the little reminder cards or little reminder devices, like a clothespin, for example, that in one seminar that we learned how to sell it. It's just that having an outside perspective from a professional coach is good to have, and especially if you're just starting out. And so not quite aware of who all's on the webinar today, but if there are some folks that are, say, recent college grads that are working into a sales role, I would encourage you to find something, find a professional development workshop or a mentor to help you learn some of those salesmanship skills. Now, I must admit, I'm not a very good salesman. I'm a slow learner, I guess, but it's that pursuit of always trying to improve. Moving down the slide there, one I think that's become more important in recent years with all the competition and competitive venues that are available now is that using a discount for volume business. And this mostly comes through our commercial sector, where we have businesses that are advertising 10 months a year, every issue every year, and maybe doing some other pieces of promotion with us, whether that's trade show, whether that's sponsorship, and sponsorships are quite dynamic here in our shop. We have several different levels and different ways to sponsor events, but that is one thing that has been helpful for us here, is being able to marry up the package, if you will, and offer those discounts when needed to persuade the volume of business here, to get somebody to run 10 months a year. I think this has really changed, reflecting back to 1998 when I first started here, and the printing business. And I don't want to don't want you to think that I'm speaking ill towards printers, but the pricing structure of printing has drastically changed since the time I first started here, and we have so much more flexibility on our printing now, especially with color printing and such, and the economics of it have allowed us to be more flexible on being able to bundle some of those discounts if needed to persuade the business. So you don't want to give it away right away, for sure, but if giving a 10% discount to get someone every month is needed, then you're probably pretty wise to offer that if you can make it work. Next point there is you have to know your products, and you have to know what you're selling, your readership, your demographics, who your users are. And we probably have some room that we can improve here. I know we have some room where we can improve on our demographics here, but through our publications, it's part of a membership, so we know that these people are paying their memberships every year, paying those dues every year to get our publications, to see the information that comes out of the organization. And so we have a pretty good base there to know that it's not the shopper that somebody's picking up as they walk out of the farm supply store when on their weekly run to get supplies. Folks know our readership, folks pay to be part of our readership, and I do think that you have to know what you're offering. And then lastly, just do what you say you're going to do, and do it well, do it with a level of professionalism and follow through that's needed. Next.
Thank you. Okay, now to print. Molly. Hopefully we haven't lost her.
Good morning. Can you see me?
I don't see you, but I hear you.
You hear me? Let's see. Let me try this video again.
Now it's a good time to be thinking of your questions, everybody.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay, Molly. We can hear you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Molly Schoen, and I am the editor of the Charolais Journal. And I have been here since 2001. I started as the intern, and then after that, they hired me. When I first started, I was the director of junior activities, and then I moved into the magazine. Everything that I've done with the magazine has been self-taught. I went to school for education, so I never had any graphic design or any experience until I started here, so I'm self-taught. I'm going to tell you how we do things here. I know everyone has a different way of doing things, but the guys have made the sale. So what's next? Go ahead, Jennifer. So here at the Charolais Journal, there is myself, and then I have Caitlin Lewis. She also does graphic design with me. And then David Hobbs is the manager of the journal, and he is also a fieldman. So he's the guy in the office that all the fieldmen talk to about getting their ads in. So they have made the sale. What next? Go ahead, Jennifer. Please don't do this. Nothing. You can't stop there. Don't just send me in a sale day or a picture of a bowl or something and make me go from there. Go ahead, Jennifer. You need to start by asking as many questions as you can. So before you leave the farm or you hang up the phone, you've already started the relationship, as Wes and Steven said. Continue it on. Find out as much information as you can. The other thing I like my fieldmen to ask is, do they already have an ad done by another paper publication? Because a lot of times the breeders will already have done something that they like, and we don't have to start over from square one. We can either look at the ad and get the information from there, or we have working relationships with the other publications. A lot of times we'll share files, so we don't have to start over. We don't have to retype everything, and it's very nice that way. If you don't, then we need to get registration numbers, sale information, contact information, anything that needs to be typed in the ad. From there on, if we're starting over again, then we need to talk about a slogan. Is there something for the sale that you want to use? Is there any certain color, a background texture, a font you like? Have you seen an ad that jumps out? Does the ranch already have a logo on file, or can you send me a copy of it? Also, great pictures pay. And cell phones are getting better. We have used pictures from cell phones. However, a lot of times they'll just go out there, the animal will be dirty. We can't use those. But I've used background shots for ads from cell phones, and they turn out great. If not, hire a photographer or have the fieldman come out and take a good picture, because a good picture will pay. And we cannot take them off a website. A lot of people are getting better about that, but you know, some people still want you to go to their website and take the picture off. Well, I'm sorry, we can't. Or please take it off of Facebook. There's a picture on Facebook. Sorry, can't take it off Facebook either. It won't print. Okay, Jennifer, we can go on. Next, you're going to help bring the vision to life. So you've talked to them, you've got all the information. This is one of our field guys does this, and he does it very well. He will actually draw the ad up for me. All the information I need is in this ad. You know, he tells me where we ran the picture, or he will attach the picture to the email and send it along with the ad. All of his, usually most of his grammar is correct. You know, we'll edit it and proof it, but this is the way I like it to come in, because he's talked to the producer, he knows what they want, and they've come together to get this vision, and then I'm not guessing. Because if I have to guess, most of the time I send it back to them and they're like, no, we want to do something different. So if we can get as much information as we can the first time, it makes our job a lot easier. Go ahead, Jennifer. If you can't, or you're not artistic and you don't want to draw it up, but you have all the information, then an email is great. This tells me everything I need to do with the ad. It gives me a heading, it gives me the information, it tells me which picture to use, what to put under the picture, gives me the information about the animal. Everything's there, so when I send this out, everything should be correct. Go ahead, Jennifer. Now we get to the guy that, you know, his daughter wants to do the ad, and, you know, she has a little bit of experience, but not a lot with print. So they send us the ad. There's no bleed. You know, it's not high resolution. We can't print it. So we came up with this little PDF that we'll send to people that helps them understand camera ready ads. So it actually is a visual of where's the live page area, you know, where's the bleed, and then it tells them how to make a PDF from their file. I guess the best thing to say is just get as much information as you can, and the fieldmen have the relationship with the producer, so if they can get that into us, it makes our job a lot easier. And if not, you know, a lot of times we still have to call them and we'll talk through it, and we just want to get the best information out for the people so they can have the best sale or sell the most semen or embryos or whatever they're doing for our publication. I guess that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
If you guys want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to just ask the question, or you can type one into the conversation bar if you'd like. Looks like we have one coming. There's the chiming bells again from campus. Okay, here we go. What if the advertiser is so late that you have to go to print without them?
I'll address this one. You take your editor to the back room and you tie him up, and you don't let him be in control, and you wait for the ad. That's actually not the case. I'll defer to Molly.
Well, we run into this issue a lot, and that's the other thing with having a small staff too, is, you know, we're always pushing it to the end. So being late is a huge problem. We will give them to the last minute until we have to go. And we if we can, we will hold it up. But, earlier is better. That's why, if you can get your information incorrect, I think I just lost. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can now. Now we've lost you.
I guess I'll just round that one out with, I guess that is getting worse and worse as we have more technology and everything's more last minute now. They just, as Molly mentioned, they think you can just pull their ad off of their Facebook page or off their website. It is getting worse. It seems like every month on things becoming closer to the deadline, and I just got to remember that I've got, there's 6,500 magazines that's got to go out the mail on time, and I'd rather 6,500 people be happy that their magazine came out on time instead of making one person upset that was in late. So yeah, I certainly want to stick to the deadline, but be accommodating. But people always think that we have these deadlines, and they ask, well, what's the real deadline date? I guess I'd never tried to really let them know what that real deadline is, and keep it like we print it, so we can keep people in time.
Yep. Another question, how do you make up for a mistake in an ad or something that was obviously left out, like a sale date?
I can answer that one, Jennifer. There's so many other forms to get your message out there these days that if something is obviously wrong, a lot of times we'll send out an e-blast to help make up for it, or we'll give them a banner ad on our website, put something on our Facebook page. We'll just try to get, the correct information out to the people.
Awesome. Well, any last thoughts or comments from the speakers?
Jennifer, I might just add, going back to that last question, is the importance of a proof.
Yep.
And maybe that goes back even further to deadlines and timing. But most of these mistakes can be avoided if everyone has the opportunity to look at a proof. Now, you'll have some of those folks that will get the proof and never look at it and approve it. So that can still be an issue. But I think it's important that numerous folks, several sets of eyes, look at an ad to try to avoid those obvious mistakes. And if it comes to if it's your responsibility at the publication and you made the mistake and nobody caught it, then you have to own up to it and apologize and find some mechanism, some way to make it better. And probably don't charge them for the ad, and probably find another way to get that correction made on behalf of that advertiser, because it's a long term, and you don't want to sacrifice that relationship that I spoke about earlier just over one mistake.
Good point. Well, our time is up for our chat today, and I greatly appreciate Molly and Stephen and Wes for taking time out of their busy schedules. We know it's kind of always a busy time for you guys, but we appreciate your commitment to LPC and to helping our members grow and learn from your experiences. And hopefully we'll see all you guys at Ag Media Summit. If you haven't registered yet, go do that. Also wanted to just let you know the date and time. The next session is going to be June 21st, and it's called The Blank Screen Inspiration for Designers. So please go back and let your designers know about this one. We are going to have some great people, great experts on that one as well. So thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time.